Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 3. Just think, you're almost at the halfway mark after this week. Well, let's be honest, 2 weeks. So, week three's topics have a focus on talking about effective schools and then the characteristics of high and low risk children and youth and the issues with schools. So, this is going to be an interesting week for those of you that work at a Title I school, thinking about your kiddos and families and how we support them. For those of you that work in special education, as we think about our at risk, either high risk or low risk of kiddos, they fall there. But then I want to flip it to those of us that might be at affluent schools, like I shared Red Hills, an affluent school. We do have kids that fall in these categories, and how do we support them? And then thinking about those at low risk, meaning not very much risk to any situation that arises, how do we support them to understand the students they're with? As that becomes a social issue that could come up as they trying to interact with those students, instead of feeling like there's this subgroup in your school or a separation in your school. How do you bind that together? So just a perspective to put on you as you're thinking through that. So those are the expectations or topics for the week. The learning outcomes, I'm not going to try and go through each of those, but I think I started to describe where to go. An encouragement for you is the Christian message. I just have to read the line. When it opens up, it says, when you feel at the end of your rope, remember that the rope of what God can handle has no end. And as we think about certain situations that arise at our school, with us, in our homes, I just want to encourage you to know that God does not end. And that's that reminder. But please go into more of that with the verses given there and just time of reflecting on Him. So the readings for this week, you've got chapters 5 and 6 that look at social issues and students at risk, and I'm sorry, I said social issues, but should have been school issues and students at risk. So I'm going to remind you that these are the slides are summary slides. If we were in a face-to-face class, it would be something that we're discussing more, but you will be reading it and just reflecting on your own. Really quick. Chapter 5 is the school issues, and Chapter 6 is our students at risk. Now, the reason Chapter 6 I didn't go to the top of the slide is I want to bring up the 5 C's of competency to distinguish between high and low risk youth. The reason for bringing up this slide, which is again in Chapter 6, that's available to you, is now let's talk about your discussion boards for the week. So the first discussion board asks you to be a researcher finding an article less than 10 years old that reflects on effective schools, things that an effective school does. Some of you might think, hey, Will, I'm not sure what I'm specifically looking for there. Can you give me any ideas? I'm going to talk to you about the 90-90-90 school, talking about students that are possibly 90% low socioeconomic status, 90% free or reduced lunch, achieving at the 90th percentile. So think of those schools as being effective, making a difference, even in an environment that doesn't show that they should succeed, they're effective. With that being said, also think of schools that have just seen a great turnaround in their achievement, whether they follow the 90-90-90, or it's been a social achievement, just meeting the needs of students. So it is your job to find an article, and then you're going to reflect on the article, the key points of it, not looking for the article to be 30, 40 pages long, even 20 pages long, but you do want a decent size to give you research. I'm pretty open for any educational journal. So for those of you that have done your overview of the library resources, even if you haven't, go into the ERIC or EBSCO search engines on the library, which can all be done online. Again, giving the indicator that you need the article available online, and they can give you a list of articles. If you just type in effective schools, that can be another resource for you as well in trying to find that article, because you will give me the link to the article, but in your post, summary points, and then you're going to give me the proper citation to the article at the end of it. I'm going to give you a little hint. You have a couple of peers who've already posted. They give great samples of that already. So that's the discussion board for the week. So really your week is about reading chapters 5 and 6 and then getting into your discussion boards. You know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to give the second discussion board prompt. I need to get my head together. I apologize for that. There are 2 discussion boards for this week. The second one is asking you to reflect on an experience you had with an at-risk youth. I'd like you to be honest about the experience and how you tried to support that individual. Reminder, please don't give the student's direct name and always use first names or a pseudonym so that way we can't make that connection. But give us your experience so that way we can be reflective with each other. I will tell you, one of my journeys was working with a student who was a selected mute and trying to support him in second grade um, with reading advancement, but not having him answer me, and then looking at other either visual forms or written forms to try and communicate with him and communicate with others in class instead of classmates trying to pass him by saying, oh, he can't do anything. Rather, no, this is how we can engage together. So that, just thinking about a student that you've had that challenge with, or let's talk about a student who's not had parental support, maybe comes from a foster background. Well, as a principal at Bay Elementary School, we worked with the Orange County Rescue Mission. I had some students that had some challenges there that I could reflect on as well. So thinking of different students. So that's the second discussion board. So let me be very clear. First discussion board, you're going to be doing a little research on your own for an article. Read that article. Give us a summary, main points. Second discussion board item is your reflection on your experience of working with at-risk youth. Then the last thing to remind yourself about is looking ahead. Thank you for everyone for filling out your topics and for your research that's due paper that's due on week 6. I appreciate that you only 2 people stayed to a topic, which is exactly what I would prefer. That way we get a variety there. Please make sure that you're working on that, doing your research. The reminder, it does need 8 citations or 8 different supports to it. So week 6 is still a few weeks out, but you want to make sure that you're definitely starting your research as we're into week 3 right now, so 3 more weeks after this. And then the reminder, the end of next week, so that's really November the 12th, your first section of your resource binder is due with your first 10 resources. So make sure that you click on to the resource binder assignment I talked about before. You're going to copy and paste each of the organizer is 1 entry, so copy and paste. Ultimately, we're going for 20 entries altogether, but what I'm looking for by the end of week 4 is 10 entries. As always, if you have any questions, please remember to text me, call me, or give me an email. I will try and respond as quickly as possible. It has been great getting to know you online and the experiences you're having. Thank you for sharing and supporting with each other. I hope that you have a great week. Good night.